8 years ago, Mr. Martin ONYANGO, the CEO and founder of Palm Decor Events Limited, lost his dear wife to breast cancer. Unfortunately, 4 years later, Mr. Martin was diagnosed with throat cancer, which later evolved into skin cancer as well. In a very moving story of hope, Mr. Martin fought through a very difficult period of personal loss, financial drain, 2 cancer illnesses, and nothing to hold on to in life. In fact, Mr. Martin felt that in the fullness of time, he would not survive cancer and he definitely would go to be with the Lord. However, destiny turned around, and through acceptance and God's grace, Mr. Martin was able to defeat this disease, focus on his events company, and ultimately build his empire. I recently caught up with Mr. Martin at Hurlingham, Nairobi, where he narrated to me his journey, how he defeated cancer, and how he's becoming an industry leader in events management in Kenya. Mr. Martin, many thanks for creating time for us here at the CEO Today show. You have quite a story, and to be honest, it's a tough one. 8 years ago, you lost your dear wife to cancer, and you too has been a victim of this same condition of cancer. But despite all these, Mr. Martin, you've actually beaten all the odds, broken all the barriers to actually found one of the biggest event companies in Kenya today, and that is the Palm Decor Limited. Today I want us to take 3 steps back into your journey. Where does your story start from? Where were you born? Where did you study?
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to just come and share my story of my business and my life with you guys. And I'm glad. I was born in Nakuru, and I schooled all my primary level in Nakuru. I was in Lenana Primary School. And then high school, I went to Musingu High, and then I finished at Agorosari High School. My A level, I was in Utalii College. I'm an hotelier by profession, and that's what I did in school. After that, working for around 5 years in hotel industry, whereby I left as a banqueting manager, I decided to resign and begin a franchise in terms of wedding. So when I was entering into the field, I began my company as a wedding, only doing weddings alone. I went and joined the House of Bloom for 1 month, just for learning. I offered myself for 1 month for learning, just to get to understand the intrigues of the company and the firm that is dealing with weddings, whereby I was able to learn different kind of flowers, and just to get to know what flowers are needed, how do you operate, how do you quote in terms of weddings. And after 1 month working with them, I started Palm Decor's company, which was registered in, I think, sometime in May 2005. Yes.
All right, thank you. Now, you've had quite the journey, and in a moment we'll be talking about your passion with events, especially where you started off as a wedding consultant and matters to do with wedding coverages and all that. We'll get to that because I'm thinking you could have chosen any other career, but there's a reason you chose that. But let's go step by step and really unpack your health journey at the point where you got to know that you are a cancer victim, how you know from hospital, and how was that for you?
Uh, it was crazy because I remember before I noticed I had cancer, I'd kept on going to different doctors. I was having throat issues. So I used to think maybe it's tonsillitis. So I was able to go to different doctors, get different medication, but slowly by slowly, this thing was not going until it reaches a point whereby eating began a problem because of swallowing, and also a point whereby even drinking water was a problem. And in that journey, when I was treating tonsillitis, the cancer eloped to my face, which is skin, and started having some black spots on my face, and also my eyes started getting dark, and I was actually going blind at some point. That's when I decided to also approach a dermatologist. And when I went to approach dermatologist, when he saw me, he told me that yes, we've treated such kind. I think this is a type of cancer that begins from the throat. So he directed me to go to Kenyatta to oncologist Dr. Angwenyi, who also confirmed the same. I think it was on a Friday. And truth be told, when he told me it was a type of a cancer, I was at Doctor's Plaza. It took me an hour to walk between Doctor's Plaza and Oncology Center within KNH, because I felt that the world was ended. Coming from a background whereby my wife was also cancerous and died of cancer, breast cancer, I didn't imagine that I'll actually beat this, and I lost hope. At that particular moment, I completely saw a dark world in my life. So when I reached there, I had a speak with the oncologist Angwenyi, and they told me to come on Monday, early morning, for biopsy, just to get some samples and to actually confirm if it was the cancer we are talking about. I went back on Monday, and that was done, and I was sent to Fortis Plaza to take it for samples. So after 4 days, I was called. Going back, and I was put in a room with counselors. They wanted to talk to me, and they started, taking you through. Don't worry. I told them, if it's what the two other doctors said, just tell me so that we see way forward. So they confirmed it was cancer, and there now I was put in on treatment in terms of when should I start my treatment in Kenyatta. But in that, it was going to take longer time because a lot of people treating cancer in KNH. So at church, I fellowship at Sitam Karen, there was a doctor called Mendoza who told me that he has a friend who's a professor who's an oncologist. And he gave me his number. He said, go and talk to him and see how he can help you. By that, I think it was in stage one. Yeah. So I went to Professor Ambinya, and I would say my breakthrough began when I met Professor Ambinya. He was able to take me through different sorts of treatment, and he told me your type of cancer, the only thing that you'll have to do is chemotherapy. So he took me through types of treatment. With the first class treatment, which was about 250,000. The second class treatment, which was about 135, and the third one, which was going to about 65. But these are now, the second and third is generics, which are not very strong, but the first was the best. And he told me, off the idea that you use the first one. But when I went to see him, I was actually, I think, bad, because when I was told that I have cancer, it took me 6 months before even going to see Professor Ambinya, because I was fighting with myself. I had not accepted. But when I went to Professor Ambinya, I think I'd begun my journey of acceptance that now I can do chemo. And why I feared chemo is my wife did a chemo like on Monday, and she passed on Sunday. So to me, I was being told that you also have to go through chemo. I saw death, and I knew if she did chemo on Monday and Sunday she was dead, I'm also going through. So it took me 6 months to just fight with myself. And within those 6 months, the cancer was now growing. It was eating me slowly by slowly. And when now I was beginning my treatment, it was at stage four, no, not stage three of it. So when I went to see Professor, he gave me his dossier on what I need to do. He was into the suggestion that I be admitted immediately at Nairobi Hospital. He's a professor at Nairobi Hospital. But when I went, we couldn't raise the money that was needed at that time. And then I told him, so he told me, go home and go and try and see how we can get money, but we need to do it quick because this thing is growing at an alarming rate. Stage one and stage three, within 6 months, that's an alarming rate. So in that, there's a neighbor also who was treating the wife with cancer, breast cancer, told me there's a doctor at Nairobi Cancer and Radiotherapy, oncologist. Try them, maybe they may be fairer in terms of prices rather than Nairobi Hospital. So that's when I went and met Dr. Oncologist Oiro, who took me through. And when I took all the papers that I came with from Mambinya, he said, wow, this was my lecturer. Actually, he's given you the best medicine. So he told the two other papers. The generic one, he said, no, we will have to find a way of making it work with the first thing that he gave you, which was going to around 250. So he was able to work system out, and at least we started doing it at 200. 150 was for treatment, 50,000 was post and pre, because you first do post and then you do chemo and then pre. But before we started treatment, I had lost a lot of blood. I was not having blood. So I was taken through blood infusion, whereby we were able to get my blood group at DOD through Dr. Kalebi and one of our staff called Beatrice. They were able to get me blood from the blood bank of DOD for free, which I thank God for that. I was given 4 pints of blood for 4 days, and then I was taken for cancer chemotherapy treatment now. My sessions were going for 8 sessions. Each session was taking a month. Yeah.
Wow, Mr. Martin, that's quite the story. And the kind of perception that cancer is given out here, people look at it as a very deadly illness. It's an illness that globally it's really taken a toll on our society. But today on this show, we're very glad that you've beaten this disease, and you've emerged to be a very ambitious and hardworking business owner. Now, again, we want to look at the point that your wife was passing. May her soul continue to rest in peace. Were you aware that you had cancer, or there was a likelihood, or was it by coincidence that both of you as a couple would end up with this particular disease?
Truth be told, I wasn't aware that I had cancer, because mine came later. My wife was able to battle the cancer when we noticed for 1 year before she began her chemotherapy. And by doing her chemotherapy for only 1 week, she was able to go to the Lord. My journey of this began late 2018. Where I started feeling uneasiness on and off from my throat. I'd go to the hospital, it clears, but we didn't know that this thing was growing. So when my wife had cancer, I didn't know that I had cancer myself. Yes.
The patients and all that. We were having a discussion earlier with you on how almost 80% of cancer patients are left to, struggle, especially those who've hit stage 3 and stage 4. They're either, looking for funds to, be able to maintain their chemo sessions. They're either traveling to India, to a new world to seek medical tourism. But sadly, most of them end up, going to be with the Lord. Today, someone who's watching would really be like, how did you, were you able to beat this thing and be able to, turn around your life? And at a point when you thought you were going to die, what is it that is inside of you that gave you the ability to keep soldiering on and having the belief that you're going to beat this thing?
Yeah, like I said, it took me 6 months to actually come to a total acceptance that indeed I had cancer, and indeed the only remedy for the cancer I was having, from the advice of Professor Ambinya, was chemotherapy. One thing that made me beat cancer, I would not say is not from my strength. I keep telling people and I keep sharing that the moment you accept a condition, the first thing we need to have is acceptance. I have malaria. The doctor said I have malaria. If I don't accept myself that I have malaria, then I may not cure myself. I may end up killing myself. But when you accept, it gives you the willpower to fight. Your body starts generating enzymatic reaction that will help you create more body enzymes to just help you fight the cancer. And then the third, which is the mother of it all, is faith in God. So those are three fundamental things that actually made me survive cancer. I was able to accept that I have it, and willpower to fight, and I was very, very spiritual and in God, trusting and knowing that the faith that I had, I'll actually be able to. And indeed, God made me through all that.
Wow. Now, Mr. Martin, someone is watching you right now and they're like, okay, you had your spouse who had cancer and unfortunately went to be with the Lord. A few years later, you were diagnosed by the same disease and you felt time is up for you. But through tenacity and God's grace, you were able to beat it and become what they call today a cancer survivor. But someone would want to ask you today, Mr. Martin, what is the basic definition of a cancer survivor? Have you either beaten the disease? Are you declared cancer free? Or do you still have it? Who is a cancer survivor?
To my understanding, a cancer survivor is someone who has beaten the disease. And why do I say that? First and foremost, beating the disease is not by our strength, it's by the faith that we believe in God. And if you have the faith that you've beaten something, then it grows in you. My last recession, I was told that I am cancer free. And that's when I realized God had done a miracle for me. So a cancer survivor is someone who is free of cancer. But what we are advised, there are times cancer, it it grows, mutilation, yeah. At times it can mutilate. So we advise that at least yearly just go for recession just to see if it has run somewhere else. But from the last time I seen my doctor, was early this month, February. I was told that I'm cancer free. But my journey with that was also quite crazy. That during the time I was treating cancer, I was blessed and I was able to also go to India for the same treatment in cancer. When I came back from India, the chemotherapy had actually affected my left lungs. So after finishing my last chemotherapy, that was in 2021, no 2020, I began treating my lungs. So I did a number of around 5 surgeries of my lungs just to try and remove water pleural effusion. There was a hole that was created in my lungs that now water, whenever I drink or eat, they were going and clogging in my lungs. So they kept removing it. And also in that, it gave me hernia. So I was able to also do surgery for hernia, 3 parts, on top of my stomach and beneath my belly, and all those were successful. So it was a great battle. I was a visitor of hospital after 2 weeks, a month, 2 weeks, a month, on and off with surgery here, surgery there, a lot of scans, and it's not an easy disease to manage. I thank God that when I was beginning cancer, I had also good friends who really supported me. I also was having cash at hand, and also our church stood with me in all that treatment. Yes.
They say that the hospital walls are the only walls that have had the most honest prayers to God. Yeah. Now, you are the CEO today, right? And now we want to get from the health journey to now your business journey, and we want to get to know more about Palm Decor Limited, one of the award-winning events companies in Nairobi today, of course spilling over to other parts of the country. What your day-to-day business within this company, how does it look like being a CEO of Palm Decor Limited?
It is not easy. If I look at my journey, like I said, how I began when I went for 1 month of learning how to manage the company. 2005 is when we actually registered the company, and that's when we started Palm Decor Limited. And it wasn't easy. I remember the first 2 years we nearly closed because we didn't understand. You know, when you're leaving employment, going to start a franchise or a business, you think there's money in it. So the first 1 year, with the connection that we had and friends, that at least basically how we grew was just referral and from church weddings and stuff. So we kept getting more referral, more referral. But at some point, they got stuck and it became so difficult to actually survive. But we kept on moving. We kept on moving with the little that we had. When we reached the 5 year mark, that's when I realized that yes, this is a company that I will not let to drain. So we kept on looking for business here and there. We started also engaging ourselves with the corporate world, and we thank God that we were able to get a lot of corporate clients from the year 2010 going onward, doing exhibitions and even now big functions like our major corporate client was Standard Media Group, whereby we were able to do for them quite a number of big shows. My company was among the companies that brought the first Choma na Ngoma ever event in KICC, courtesy of Radio Maisha of Citizen, who were in collaboration with Homeboys. And we did events for Kenyatta University. We were doing events for Smoothtel. We were doing events for quite a number of companies, state law. We did for Treasury and different kind of groups of companies. But the major company that also supported us also was Rafiki Microfinance Bank. We did also events for them for 10 years. We were able to work with Lancet till today for a total of years of 13 years now, still doing events for Lancet Kenya. And I would say even during COVID, Dr. Kalebi stood with us because by that time I was transitioning, I was still treating myself, and he was able to still keep us busy with events. So actually, I'd say 2020 to 2021, majorly one company sustained us, which was Lancet Kenya, and then joined partially by Kenya National Union of Teachers that also we do the events. Yes.
Now, Mr. Martin, for every in business, for every success, there is always certain things that you look back to, and you have regrets. Could you tell us one regret that you have, and after that, you tell us also some of the successes and achievements that you're so proud of today?
Yeah. In any other business, there has to be regrets, and the major failure in our company was control of finances. When you began a business at a tender age, just from high school to being employed for 5 years and leaving employment, I entered into business not knowing anything to do with business. I was just rolled to just ideas that came and were doing. And I noticed that we used to overspend money. A young man getting a check of 1 million and you don't know where to use it, you find yourself in Mombasa having fun. And those are the intrigues that I've noticed that affect business. It's always about finances. How do you manage your finance? And I would not say we're still off the hook yet, because now after COVID, it brought us the same page on how to manage finances. Realize that there's no business not picked up, and my journey with cancer for the 4 years, I lost all those companies I've spoken about, apart from only Lancet that stood with us and Kenya National Union of Teachers, and they don't have much function nowadays. So it became very difficult just to survive and just to put food on the table. That is from 2020 after treatment to 2023 is when I'd say now we are starting to see a red light in business and things are shaping up. So financial maintenance was the problem. We used to overspend without saving. But the good thing about it also, we were able to invest. We were able to invest in tents, we were able to invest in sound, we were able to invest in lighting, we were able to invest in fabrics that we use for decoration. And before cancer, we were doing pretty well. That was the year 2018, 2019. Let's say from 2016 to 2019, the company was rolling. Life was good. Business was there. a lot of clients who were very busy until now the turnaround of sickness. That's, to me, I'd say actually my time for sickness is what actually pulled me down, because even in that I was forced to sell a lot of items. When life comes in, then life becomes fast. In terms of treatment and whatever, it took me a toll, whereby after every 2 weeks you have to do CT scans and whatever when you go to see the doctors, and we're not using less than 50,000 with the scans that were given. And then when I was put to medication, I would spend like 8 to 10 days, and I was not spending less than 300 to 400,000 per treatment. So that forced me to release that which was not important. Yes, and I remained with very few things. So what I'd say now is we are trying to rebrand ourselves. We are trying to come up again into business. But we thank God, he was able to sail us through, and things are looking up. Yes.
Wow. Let us now look at the future of your companies, your franchise. You've come from that very dark hole of, being a cancer patient. You fought so hard, you've defeated the disease, and you're now rebuilding your empires. What does the future look like for you, Martin?
I'd say the future is looking bright. The future is looking bright because now we are putting strides into trying getting new clients. And not to forget something, the same Palm Deco was able to give birth to Palm Litho Limited. Yes, Palm Litho Limited is a company that deals with branding, exhibition booths setup, and we deal with merchandising, and we're trying to enter into the field of advertising also with Palm Litho Limited. So Palm Deco was able to give back to Palm Litho, that is 4 years back before I got sick. So I've been running the two companies concurrently. Palm Deco was majorly for decorations and tentage and stuff, but Palm Litho came into doing banners for corporate companies, the diaries, all the merchandising that are needed for corporate companies. And I would say the future is looking bright because the last 3 months we've been able to actually began to get new clients. We are able to get Ministry of Education as part of our portfolio now, doing the event. We did a very major conference in Naivasha last week, which was a Kenya Urban Forum, whereby we supplied all the booths that were used in that urban forum. And I'd say we are beginning to pick up slowly by slowly. And we're getting new companies on board that we're working for. We're working now with the my credit microfinance. We're doing all their branding, merchandising. We're also working with the Sumac. We're doing all their setup exhibitions and Decor. And we are still maintaining the Lancet. We're still working with them. And I believe that if we just put our papers right, we will make it. And it's also good that we learned from our mistake. Like I was saying, business is picking up gradually and slowly, and we thank God for that. And just recently, we were able to do a mega event. Actually, I think from the time I went sick, I'd say this is the biggest event we've done, which was at Lake Naivasha Resort, whereby we did Kenya Urban Forum. We're part of Kenya Urban Forum event organization and even supply of booths and tents in that forum. And also in that during COVID, we were able to start re-strategizing and thinking. And I entered into selling of vehicles. So on the side show, we also do sell cars. If you want a Range Rover, you can contact me. So that I like to go yes, I can get you one. And I would say my experience for the past 13 years running business has been a journey. It has been a tough journey. Not all the time we were up. At some point, we were even auctioned when we used to have an office in Gumo when things were not going pretty well. We were auctioned everything and we soldiered on. That was 6 years into business. And like I said, when you begin something young, at times you don't know how to grow it better.
But one thing I noticed that the failures that we had actually made us achieve. And in that also, I was able to train a lot of young guys. I became a mentor, and majority of those young guys are now running their businesses. Some are very good in business, some are doing pretty well. Just training them, working with them, and most of them have spread wings and are working. And to me, that has always been my joy. That if I can meet a young person and work with him, and at some point he can leave my wings and start his own, to me, that's a blessing more than even the finances we're looking at. That how do you help young people to just come back or begin something and grow the wings from your franchise? Yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Martin, brief talk to cancer patients who are losing hope, those who have gone to all manner of hospitals and the money is not there. They are like, oh God, why don't I just finish my journey? What's your brief word of encouragement to them now that you defeated this monster?
Well, what I'd encourage people is one, like I said before, three fundamental things that I keep saying about that will make you actually defeat cancer. To every patient who's undergoing chemotherapy or who's just been diagnosed with cancer, be it which stage, because I have people that have beaten cancer at stage 4, like the elder in our church, Nicholas Mahoya, who became my pillar and my mentor in growth and advice in terms of beating cancer. He beat his cancer at when it was stage 4. So now he's, I think, 6 years down the lane, cancer free. Is acceptance. You need to actually come to a place whereby you accept. And why do I say acceptance? Acceptance is whereby you reach total surrender. When I reached that total surrender is the night I was beginning my chemo. And that is when I sat back and told God that if you'd want to take me to follow my beloved wife Sheila, so be it. I became selfish. I forgot everybody in my life, and it was between me and my God. And I told him, if you'd give me a second chance, I will go out there and speak about it and tell people cancer is not a death sentence. Cancer can actually be beaten depending on how you set your mind. So when I accepted that, it brought me to number 2, which I keep saying, willpower to fight. My body was able to fight back because now my mind was settled and knew that this is cancer. We have it. How do you go about it? We have to fight it. Yeah. And then number 3 was faith. Having faith in God, knowing that it is only you and God, and only God can cure you. And I remember when I met Professor Ambinia from the first time, he told me that I know you're scared. You've had stories about cancer, and cancer, 70% of people always die. He told me, I will not heal you. I will help you in the curative means and method of treating cancer, but the person will heal you with God. So your faith will count from now on. And when I accepted that, what he told me came into mind. Being a Christian and born again, however much you know God, cancer is something that at times you beat yourself off. And I would really sit back and ask God, why me? I would fight with him and I would tell him, what have I done wrong? Why did you let me go through the same thing that my wife went through? It reached a point whereby I was never praying. I was consulting, like the way you speak with your father. And truth be told, he stood with me till this far. So those are 3 fundamental things that I tell any cancer patient. And also, I would say, through my journey, what I noticed, and even the groups that I have for cancer survivors and caregivers and everything, is that our government is not doing much in terms of cancer. It was very difficult to just get help from the government fraternity, though I was able to get some money through NHIF. But cancer is salvaging a lot of people, and financial constraint also takes people to drain. At times you go to the hospital and you find patients at Kenyatta looking for that treatment, and because they don't have finance, they are chased back home to fight cancer. My advice was to, or maybe what I can share with the government is they need to find a system that when they realize a patient has cancer, accept them. Let the money factor be after the treatment. But don't ask for money, and yet this is maybe a Mabamboga somewhere who's actually suffering, he has nothing, and running to the same hospital, which is referral, being taken back home. So my prayer is government should come up with a bill, a litigation that will make sure that cancer is taken seriously. Cancer is actually one among the deadly diseases that is actually killing people, or malaria. And if the government doesn't look into it, we will continue losing more lives, and more lives, because treating cancer is not easy. And also, the people running cancer, I would suggest our oncologist. I know some are quack. Some people go to treat cancer and the diagnosis they're given is different. I thank God that all the oncologists I passed through were people who gave me the right treatment, the right direction, and they stood with me. Even when I went to India, my doctor in India, Dr. Akhilesh, asked me, so in Kenya, we have good oncologists who can actually treat, because I've done, I think, 5 chemotherapy sessions here if I went to India. And I told him yes. So the same treatment I was given with Professor Ambinya is the same treatment I ran with it until I finished my session. So getting the right advice, getting the right doctors, and it's also good to seek opinion. When you're told you have cancer, I was able to seek opinion to different oncologists just to get to hear what are they saying, what is the value. And to me, that I would tell people that just accept. When you accept, then everything begins to change. Your mind begins to build up. And when your mind has built up, your heart becomes at peace. And you become at peace, then you're able to actually articulate yourself within yourself on how to maneuver it. Thank you.
Wow, that's quite the story, Mr. Martin. And to be honest, you are brave, you are tough, and definitely the future has a lot in store for you. Once again, congratulations on your initiative, and that is the Palm Decor Limited as well as Palm Decor Limited. From the CEO Today Show, we wish you nothing but the best. We hope that those who have watched this show today will borrow a thing or two on matters resilience and on matters never giving up hope. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this particular episode. That has been Mr. Martin, the CEO and founder of Palm Decor Limited, one of the award-winning event companies here in the Republic of Kenya. A cancer survivor who has pushed barriers and gone ahead of himself to inspire a generation to do better. His word of encouragement to cancer patients is do not give up hope and find true acceptance in that particular condition. Thank you so much for always supporting this show. I hope to see you next week. Hit that subscribe button. My name is Socrates. Bye-bye.